I am back for another installment of Figures in Action with another dial. Before I get into this dial, I just really quickly wanted to say a couple things, and the reason I'm about to say what I'm going to say is because I recognize that I am on some sort of platform where people who are strangers to me, who don't know me personally, watch these videos, and you guys comment and you like on them, and we start up conversations at times, and it allows me to reach a lot of people, and that's always a great thing when it comes to art and teaching and so forth. But one of the things I want to talk to you guys about today is the tragedy that happened in Puerto Rico recently with the big hurricane that they got over there a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. It devastated our island. If you guys don't know, I am Puerto Rican. My dad and mom were both born in Puerto Rico. Actually, my mom came to Boston when she was 6 or 7 months pregnant with me in her belly. So I was made in Puerto Rico. And what we are seeing for pictures and videos from family and from others in Puerto Rico is tragic beyond belief. It's gonna take a long time for that island to recover, and it's been difficult at home. Joanne has family up there, and for a while she couldn't locate her sister. Luckily for me, the family that I had, I was able to locate them pretty quick, and they're doing good, and everyone's doing good for the moment. But the fear is not getting enough food and water and so forth. So if you guys aren't aware of what's happening, check it out. You know, it's too bad that our president isn't acting as quickly, or isn't at the very least putting out kind of that what he's supposed to do in terms of the president, and he just doesn't seem to really care about what's happening, you know, which is too bad. And if you guys don't know, Puerto Rico is a province of the United States of America. We don't need passports to come into the States. We're actually not too far from Florida, and it's considered a U.S. territory. So Puerto Rican people are American people. And it's too bad that it seems like our president, or the president of the United States, is always trying to divide us with race and so forth. So, you know, we've been living on this island forever, and English is something that's spoken all over the island. So it's not as if we can't hear, or we can't understand what we're hearing. So if you guys have an opportunity to give back in any way, there's a fund right now. I'll put the description in the comments, where the 5 presidents are getting together and collecting some money. A couple other athletes are doing it as well, professional athletes. So if you guys can help, or if you guys can spread the word, that would be great. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this for a few minutes, and then we can get back to reviewing this dial, which is actually kind of let me see, what's the best wording here. So Puerto Rico was not discovered. Just like America, there were native people living on the island. So it's something that I always hesitated when it was time for my kids to learn about who discovered America and so on and so on. It's really difficult to discover something where people are, have built a life there for many years, and then you come in and be like, you know what? Nah, this is ours. But at some point in a lot of these older countries and older places in America, you know, they had a lot of temples, you know, specifically like in Mexico and South America. So I got hit up by someone who I've actually have never met, but we've known of each other since I've started all of this. And he hit me up one time and asked about a dial many years ago, and we just didn't go past that stage. And he just hit me up again. It was like, listen, this is what I have in mind. And I've never done temple ruin, so I did something similar, but I've never done, like, you know, just straight up temple ruin. So I was excited. I was excited at the opportunity. So he hit me up and he said, "Listen, this is what I'm looking for." And as I don't know, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I generally, a lot of people hit me up and they're like, "How much for a dial?" And unfortunately, I have a price kind of tiers, the tier 1, tier 2, and there's like price ranges, but I can never really quote anyone on a dial. I mean, what I try to do is kind of work backwards from it. So tell me what you're interested in. Tell me what your budget looks like, and then I'll tell you what I can do in terms of size and details. And I think that's always the fairest ways. And so far, it's worked with everyone I've ever dealt with in terms of that, approaching it that way. A lot of times people are just like, "No, I just need a price. Just give me a price." And it sucks. It's usually it's usually people I know personally. Like when Dave BX hit me up and he wanted a dojo, and I'm like, "What do you have for a budget?" He's like, "Just give me a price." I'm like, "Nah, just give me a budget." "Nah, man, just give me a price. I don't care. Just give me a price." So it can be stressful because I don't, I want to kind of work off of what people have in mind for a budget, and then we can always come up with a good dial. It doesn't mean, if your budget is a little less than what you want it to be, I'm gonna kill it for you regardless, man. So I was hit up, Temple Ruins. I was like, word. I think he specifically wanted some sort of stairs or some steps going into a doorway. I think that's, if I remember correctly, that's what he had specifically asked for. So I said, cool, that's perfect. With these temples, as I did research, a lot of them are like super fancy, and they have like these little like almost faces and shit, just not carved in, but just. It's just the style is just, it's amazing. And so as I was looking through all these different reference pictures, I needed to figure something out where it's feasible and I can do it, and I have the proper equipment to do it, and it's gonna work, and I can break it down and send it to him, and he can just take it apart and put it back together. A lot of that thinking goes into creating these dials. So the one thing that I did add, I said, listen, you know what? I'll add a hidden door. You can kind of see the outline a little bit. I need two things. First, this little contraption here, I need to stabilize. I just don't like the fact that it's not really stable, so I have to do something at the bottom of those kind of legs or whatever. And in here, I'm gonna darken these corners out a little bit because you can see the outline of the door. And I'd rather you didn't. Maybe I'll leave it. I don't know, because it is kind of cool. But anyway, this pushes out. I won't do it because it's a pain in the ass, but you can see it there. So it kind of pushes out, and it just makes it kind of like a hidden door. You know what? I forgot to grab the ruler. Let me go grab that, and then I'll give you guys the measurements. All right, so we're looking at 20 inches across, and it's actually a little bit taller. And we're looking at about 20 inches tall, and should be about 11 inches deep. And 11 inches deep. A little less than 11 because of the little extra piece that's sticking out, but basically 11 inches deep. So we're looking at 20 by 20 by 11. I have sat down a Marvel Legends Shield Soldier 4 scale, so you guys have an idea. The good thing, well, okay, so I'm creating this. I'm going to, kind of doing it, and as I always tell you guys, I try to put myself into the shoes of the person who's going to be owning this, and it's not always for display. A lot of times this is for action figure photography. I am in the ACBA community, therefore most of the people that I know do action figure photography. They pose their figures, and as I'm creating this, I realized that like from here to here, there's not that much space. So I was like, damn. But because somehow magically shit falls into place for me sometimes, I don't know how, but was driving to work one day and I was like, man, how can I create some more space? But it's a pretty simple thing. I didn't even have to create anything. All I had to do was you remove that and you just put the stairs up directly to there. I do have to, when I airbrushed yesterday, I did it while I was together, so I'm going to do something to kind of dirty that up a little bit. But anyway, so what it does is it gives it a lot more space, and he can do some more posing, he does some more shots, some more scenes where there's some more action figures and not just one or two, by allowing that space. So what I had to do actually is come back here And I usually, a lot of times when I place things on dials, I don't really necessarily paint underneath it, just because that's the piece that goes there. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. In this case, I hadn't carved all the way underneath these stairs, so what I did is I just kind of carved it all the way through. As you can see, I didn't go all the way to the back because, you know, there's always going to be something there that's going to lead up to that doorway. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I thought it was a good idea to just do it that way. And then the good thing about this is that you can still, you know, kind of put it somewhere on it, on the dial. And the good thing about this little archway type deal is that you can kind of put it somewhere else. You know, maybe to highlight, you see what I mean? It doesn't have the greatest balance. I have to work on that before I send this out, but kind of highlight that hidden door, and you can just do a couple different things. I also like the fact that because of this style of dial, it allowed me to work on every inch of it that's that you can see. So in other words, a lot of times when I create these dials, like let's say it's a living room, this here I'll just paint it black because there's really nothing else you can really do. Same thing up here, I'll just paint it black. You know, you're gonna see this, you're not gonna necessarily see the top of it, but because they are temple ruins and it's something where you can actually take this piece and put it on a bigger piece if you had some more this style of dial. So yeah, man, just wanted to oh, real quick, how did I go about this? All right, cool. So this here is project foam board, the skinny stuff, right? This is project foam board. This is actually installation foam board that I cut in half. So it's usually an inch thick. Cutting in half obviously makes it half an inch. And what it does, it allows me to add a little depth by having a couple different kind of sizes of some of the stone that's sticking out of the wall. So we get a certain size here, another size here. Wanted to make sure I did that down there. And it's funny because when I finished carving it out, it didn't have any of these, and instantly I was like, yeah, there's something missing here. It's way too flat, especially with how these temples usually are, which are very intricate, very detailed. So I wanted to make sure to add a little more. So, you know, I was able to add some, and I think it made it look good. This stuff here, okay, so let's discuss some of the things that I use here. This is just stuff I found at AC Moore, and it's just, I think in the plant section, I want to say. And yeah, just basically what I did is I kind of, these slits were already there, so I kind of laid them to the slit, put a little bit of glue gun on the back, stretched them out. Some of them I pinned with a little bit of let me see, wiring, like the wire that you can shape. So I kind of cut a little piece and I just kind of stabbed it in. And then for the most part, I covered most of those with this moss looking stuff. That's actually tiny sponges. It's tiny sponges, but let me see if I can get in there really tight. But because of the size and the way they're used in these type of miniatures, they lend really well to it looking like moss. Came in with the green airbrush and put some spots here and there to again lend to that moss feel. And then obviously had a couple of just random pieces that he can place anywhere he'd like to place and so forth. And yeah, everything is pretty basic in terms of I really, it's funny because as I was about to start carving this up, I was like, man, like what do I do for a pattern? Like what do I do for a pattern on the wall? But what I did for a pattern on the wall, honestly, is freestyle. I just freestyle. I really did. So I did measure this out. So this one's a little thicker, a little skinnier, a little thicker, you know, so I did that. But in terms of the blocks themselves, that was just freestyle. I just put it wherever I felt look good. For the door, obviously I try to do a little less so you can kind of, it's a hidden door because I mean if you put it flush, it's, you know, it's kind of hidden, you know. But if there was an explorer checking this out, then yeah, they would find it, as the clues are kind of that, you know, it doesn't have any of the carvings in there. So that's how I went about it. And yeah, basically a lot of times when you end up freestyling it, it's just kind of you doing your style, doing how you think it looks good, and it worked out at the end. And this is just magnetized, so one piece here, back piece, everything comes off the main floor. Those 1, 2, 3 pieces, and everything lays out. I'll have some pictures at the end, and I am out. Peace.